Chosen one. Stop scrolling for a moment. You didn't stumble here by chance. Heaven arranged this moment, because God heard what they said about you. Every whisper, every insult, every twisted word, they all reached his throne. The words spoken against you may have been quiet on earth, but they thundered in heaven. You have endured seasons of silence. When you could have defended yourself but didn't. You chose peace when anger was easier. You stayed kind when cruelty surrounded you. That silence wasn't weakness. It was strength wrapped in grace. Heaven watched your restraint and decided, now I will fight for my child. There's a sound rising in the unseen, a sound like steel meeting stone. It's the sword of divine justice being drawn. You've waited long enough, and heaven is moving on your behalf. According to what is revealed in the book of Psalms, chapter 27, verse 1, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. They thought your quiet meant defeat. They thought you were broken, but you were being built. Every insult became a brick, and God was constructing your foundation. What they meant for harm has become the platform of your promotion. There was once a woman named Aria, a chosen one, just like you. She worked with devotion, but envy surrounded her. They mocked her prayers. They whispered lies. And when she stayed silent, they called her weak. But she kept her eyes on God. Months later, the very ones who ridiculed her were forced to witness her favor. Her company chose her to lead a project that changed everything. It wasn't revenge, it was redemption. Heaven had been listening the entire time. Chosen one, your story mirrors hers. You've walked through betrayal, rejection, misunderstanding, yet through it all, you never let bitterness take root. You stood your ground when your name was dragged through dust. You kept trusting, even when no one believed you. That's why heaven is now rising for you. Imagine a battlefield at dawn. The fog begins to lift, revealing legions of angels positioned around your life. Their armor gleams like morning light. Their swords shimmer with truth. That's the scene above you now, God commanding his army on your behalf. You are not alone in this fight. Sometimes God lets false voices speak first, so that his truth will sound louder in the end. The longer the silence, the greater the reveal. He didn't forget you. He was preparing the stage for your vindication. The same God who turned Joseph's betrayal into a throne is turning your wounds into wisdom. The same God who lifted David from the field to the crown is lifting you from rejection to recognition. You are not behind. You are being prepared. Let them talk. Let them assume. Because when God decides to respond, he does it publicly. The same mouths that tried to curse you will be witnesses to your restoration. Chosen one. Listen carefully. This is not punishment. This is positioning. The shaking you feel isn't destruction, it's the rearranging of destiny. Heaven is aligning everything to show the world that his hand has been on you all along. So breathe. Lift your head. You've cried long enough. The storm didn't drown you, it baptized you into strength. What they said about you no longer matters, because God has spoken over you. And when God speaks, no other voice stands. If this message finds your heart tonight, don't just scroll away. Like this message as an act of faith. Share it, so another warrior knows that heaven still fights for the faithful. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, because your story is not over. This is only the beginning of your vindication. Chosen one. God heard what they said, and He's fighting for you. Justice is already on the move. You are standing in the first light of a new chapter. The pain that once broke you is now the proof that you survived the fire. Every scar is a signature of divine mercy. Every tear, a seed that heaven is watering right now. Step forward in quiet confidence. You don't have to prove yourself. Your peace is your proof. Watch how God will make your name rise like dawn after a long night, shining without you ever needing to explain your story. Type 77 inches the comments as a prophetic act of agreement. Let heaven know you've received this word and that you choose peace over revenge, faith over fear, and purpose over pain. Chosen one. The pain of being misunderstood runs deeper than words can explain. You've carried the weight of false judgment, the sting of being misread by those you trusted most. Sometimes it wasn't enemies who hurt you, it was the ones you called family. The ones you prayed for, the ones you defended when no one else did. You remember those moments, don't you? The way the air changed when you walked into a room, the glances exchanged, the half smiles that said more than words ever could. They saw your heart, yet chose to question it. They saw your goodness, yet twisted it into weakness. And when you tried to explain yourself, no one listened. That silence became your cross to carry. But what if I told you this wasn't punishment? It was positioning, that God allowed misunderstanding to protect your purpose. Some people could never walk with you into the next season. So heaven used misjudgment as the separation tool. You didn't lose them by accident. You were released from them by grace. There's a mystery to divine isolation. It feels like abandonment, but it's actually refinement. When God hides you, it's never rejection, it's incubation. Just as gold is buried before it's discovered, your destiny was hidden before it could shine. According to what is written in the book of Proverbs, chapter 19, verse 21, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Imagine a seed underground. To the world above, it looks buried, lifeless, forgotten. But beneath the soil, the seed is breaking open, stretching toward the light it cannot yet see. That's what's happening in you. The breaking isn't destruction, it's transformation. You have asked God, why can't they see my heart? But He answers gently, because I'm teaching you to be known by me first. The misunderstanding forced you to stop seeking validation from people and start drawing identity from the one who never misreads your intentions. Every false story told about you became part of your testimony's power. Every betrayal became a blueprint for your discernment. Every door that closed taught you which ones were never meant for you to open. It's painful, yes, but necessary, because destiny demands pruning, and the knife that trims the branch isn't cruelty, it's preparation for fruitfulness. Chosen one. You are in the same pattern that every great vessel of God once walked. Joseph was misunderstood by his brothers. Hannah was misjudged by Eli. David was accused by Saul. Even Jesus was betrayed by a kiss. Yet each time, misunderstanding became the bridge to manifestation. Your story follows the same rhythm. The rejection that wounded you will one day become the reason you recognize true loyalty. You will thank God for what didn't work out, because it spared you from the wrong attachments. There's something sacred about being unseen. When no one notices, heaven is watching closely. When you feel forgotten, Angels are recording every tear. When you are misread, God writes truth in places no rumor can erase. Let your heart rest in this. You don't have to defend yourself. Time and truth are allies of the righteous. When God is ready, He will reveal you not as you were accused of being, but as you truly are. Think of an artist painting behind closed doors. The unfinished work looks messy, colors blurred and chaotic. But once the curtain is lifted, the audience gasps. It was beauty in progress all along. That's your life right now. You are still behind the curtain, and what looks confusing is only unfinished glory. There will come a day when those who misunderstood you will watch in silence as God honors you. But when that moment arrives, your heart will not crave revenge. It will overflow with mercy. You will realize the misunderstanding didn't break you. It built your character. It taught you to trust the voice of God over the opinions of man. You are being refined for clarity. Every false perception burned away. Every wound becoming wisdom. You'll soon find that peace doesn't come from being understood. It comes from being secure in the truth. God knows about you. Chosen one. Even now, heaven is rewriting how others see you. Not through your explanations, but through your transformation. The same mouths that questioned your worth will see your fruit, and they will understand. So, hold your head high in the waiting. The season of being misunderstood is not your ending, it's your anointing being sealed in secret. And when the moment comes, you will smile not out of pride, but peace. For you'll finally see it clearly. The misunderstanding was never your downfall. It was your doorway into destiny. Chosen one. You've learned to be silent. But have you ever realized that your silence became heaven's loudest sound when you stopped defending yourself? Heaven started defending you. When you held your tongue, angels took notes. You thought you were being still. But in the unseen realm, your stillness was a roar that shook the kingdom of darkness. The world thinks victory is noise, arguments won, names cleared, explanations heard. But heaven's definition of victory is obedience in silence, because silence is not emptiness, it's evidence of trust. There's a sacred kind of power that lives in restraint. When you chose not to speak, you gave God room to act. When you didn't retaliate, you made space for divine justice to breathe. That's why your silence has been louder than every rumor, louder than every accusation. According to what is written in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 19, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. No, you've lived that verse without even realizing it. You've stood in rooms where truth was twisted and still chose peace. You've heard your name dragged through dirt, and yet your spirit whispered, "Be still." That was not weakness, that was wisdom, because silence confuses the enemy. It disarms every spirit that feeds on reaction. Let me tell you something powerful. The moment you stopped explaining yourself was the moment heaven started explaining you. God has been speaking your name into the right ears, defending you in places you'll never step into. Meetings are happening, doors are forming, and people you've never met are being moved to favor you. All because you refused to let bitterness speak for you. There's a man in the scriptures who reminds me of you, Moses. He didn't chase after Pharaoh to clear his name. He didn't justify his calling. He simply obeyed. And God did the talking through miracles. That's your path too. You won't need to argue. Your fruit will speak. The silence you carry isn't emptiness, it's a sacred pause before thunder. Think of it like the breath before a song, the still air before the rain falls, the heartbeat before a warrior strikes. That's where you are right now, in the holy stillness before God's movement. Some people misread your quiet as defeat, but soon they'll understand, because when heaven breaks its silence, it does so with glory. The same hands that were tied by accusation will soon be lifted in victory. The same voice that was ignored will become a voice of wisdom others run to. Don't despise this quiet. It's the sound of heaven building your case. And when the right time comes, your name will rise not because you shouted, but because God spoke. You are living proof that sometimes the loudest worship is not a song, it's silence full of trust. You are showing the world that surrender is not giving up, it's giving God room to be God. And when He moves, it will be undeniable. The same people who once doubted you will say, "Surely God was with them." That's the kind of redemption that no explanation could ever achieve. So stay silent, but not still. Keep walking. Keep believing. Keep doing what's right. Heaven's justice doesn't need volume, it needs timing. And the time for your unveiling is closer than you think. Now, take this moment to align your spirit with heaven's rhythm. Type, "Heaven has my case," in the comments. It's more than words, it's a declaration of trust. You're saying, "I won't fight this battle in the flesh. I won't chase rumors or justify myself. I release it to heaven." Because heaven never loses. Every time you write it, you remind your soul that your defense isn't delayed, it's divine. Your silence was never weakness. Chosen one, it was heaven's signal that your vindication had already begun. And when the dust finally settles, you'll understand why God told you to stay quiet. Because some battles are won without a single word, only faith. You'll see how His timing protected you from traps you never knew were set. How silence became your shield when truth needed time to ripen. Heaven's strategy is never rushed. It's always perfect. In that moment, gratitude will flood your heart. You'll thank Him not just for the victory, but for the peace that came before it. You'll realize that staying silent didn't cost you your dignity, it preserved your destiny. Every time you resisted the urge to explain, you gave heaven one more reason to move in your favor. So hold this truth close. When you trust God enough to stay still, He moves mountains for you. That's not just faith, it's power in its purest form. Chosen one. The tables are beginning to turn. You can feel it, even if you can't explain it yet. The same atmosphere that once felt heavy with judgment now feels charged with something new, divine movement. Heaven has begun rearranging the pieces, and every plot that was formed against you is slowly collapsing under its own weight. There's a shift happening in the unseen realm. The very words that were meant to trap you are now becoming the reason for your elevation. Those who spoke against you are beginning to feel the unease that only comes when heaven reverses direction. The winds are changing, and this time, they're blowing in your favor. According to what is revealed in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Oh, you are seeing the first ripples of that truth. Conversations are changing. Doors that were closed without reason are quietly opening again. People who ignored you are now searching for your presence, drawn by something they can't quite name. That something is the favor of God, announcing itself subtle, unstoppable, undeniable. Do you remember how long you waited for an answer? How you prayed? God, when will it shift? What you didn't see was that God was already at work, turning every insult into instruction, every betrayal into building blocks. The very moments that humiliated you are becoming the foundation of your strength. There's an old story of a craftsman who built beautiful instruments out of discarded wood. He once said, "I choose the pieces others throw away, because pressure has already proven their endurance." That's exactly what heaven has done with you. You were thrown aside by voices that couldn't see your value, but God saw your strength. You've been shaped, sanded, and refined until your life itself has become a melody that carries His glory. The shift doesn't always begin with applause. Sometimes it begins with silence. The people who once opposed you may never admit it, but their hearts are being softened. Conviction is whispering to them at night. They're remembering the words they spoke, the actions they took, and realizing they were wrong. God doesn't always expose your enemies to shame them. Sometimes He exposes them to heal them. That's why your victory won't look like revenge. It will look like restoration. You won't need to gloat. Your peace will preach louder than any defense could. The turning of the tables isn't about humiliation. It's about divine justice done with mercy. Because even in your pain, you never wished them harm. You only wanted freedom. And now, heaven is honoring that heart. Chosen one. Look closely at your life. The signs are already here. The pressure that once crushed you no longer has the same power. The places that once triggered your tears now only bring reflection. You're stronger, wiser, softer, but not weaker. You've grown roots deep enough to hold when the winds shift again. The tables are turning not just around you, but within you. You've stopped seeing your story as tragedy and started seeing it as training. That's a sign of transformation. You're no longer reacting from pain. You're responding from purpose. Soon, even those who doubted you will sense it. They'll feel a holy discomfort when they speak your name, not because you've cursed them, but because God has placed conviction where cruelty once lived. They'll remember what they said, and they'll wish they hadn't, not because of guilt, but because they'll see the truth they missed. And when that happens, you won't need to remind them of what they did. The evidence will speak for itself. Your peace will become the loudest testimony. Your success will carry no bitterness. Your restoration will be wrapped in grace. The shift is happening slowly, but it's sure, like the turning of a tide. It begins unseen, but soon it moves with unstoppable force. You won't have to chase vindication. It's already walking toward you. So, keep your posture steady. Don't gloat. Don't rush. Don't explain. Just keep shining in silence. God is rewriting the story, and every reversal is part of His redemption. The same voices that once said, "You'll never rise," will soon say, "We were wrong." Indipam. That's how heaven works, not with noise, but with undeniable evidence. The tables are turning. Chosen one. And when they finally stop, you'll be standing in a place that only grace could have built. And when you stand there, you'll realize it was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving that God was right about you all along. His justice, not yours, won the war. Chosen one. Heaven has assigned help on your behalf. You may not see them, but they're real. Angels of protection, angels of provision, angels of justice. When you were crying, they were standing guard. When you were too tired to pray, they carried your name into the presence of God. And now, their wings are stirring again. The battle that once surrounded you is no longer yours to fight. You've entered a shift from striving to being sustained. God himself has sent warriors from his army to handle what your hands could not. That's why certain situations are suddenly calming. It's not luck, it's heaven's defense system engaging for you. According to what is written in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. You are not alone, and you never were. Even in your loneliest nights, heaven had you surrounded. Every step you took, unseen feet moved beside you. Every tear that fell became a signal in the spiritual realm, heaven saying, 'This one is under divine protection.'" And think of it like this: when a king sends his soldiers to guard a royal child, the child doesn't have to understand military strategy to be safe. They simply have to stay close to the king's voice. That's you right now, protected, covered, guided. And sometimes, heaven uses people as those warriors. Someone's kindness may appear ordinary, but it's really divine intervention, wrapped in human form. A message you hear, a prayer, someone whispers for you, a stranger's smile. These are heaven's small miracles, reminding you that you are still seen. I want you to pause and breathe. Look at how far you've come. You survived what others didn't. You kept your faith when your world fell apart. You didn't give up when quitting would have been easier. That's proof that heaven has been fighting for you all along. And because this space has become a place where heaven's words find you, I want to speak to your heart gently, not as an obligation, but as an invitation. If these messages have strengthened you, encouraged you, or reminded you that you're not alone, consider helping this mission continue. Think of it like adding one more drop of oil to the lamp that's keeping hope alive through the night. When you give, you aren't paying for a word. You're partnering with heaven to carry that word farther. Your support, no matter how small, is like placing another stone in the lighthouse that guides souls through stormy seas. Some may never know your name, but they'll find safety in the light you helped sustain. There is no pressure, no demand, no condition. Only this truth: what you sow in love never returns empty. Your giving becomes a ripple of grace that reaches lives you'll never meet, but that heaven will never forget. You can support through prayer, through kindness, through sharing this message so the light reaches another weary heart, or through a donation if you feel led. Each act, big or small, keeps the message flowing, the light spreading, and hearts like yours strengthened again. And if giving isn't possible for you right now, don't feel less than. Even a simple gesture like pressing like as a silent amen, sharing as a seed of encouragement, or subscribing to keep walking with this movement becomes a spark that heaven multiplies. But if something inside you stirs, if your spirit whispers, "I want to help this light reach more souls," then follow that gentle prompting, because every miracle story begins with one small act of obedience. You see, when you give into God's work, you're not losing anything, you're planting into eternity. Just as a seed disappears into the ground before it grows, your offering, whether prayer or provision, goes unseen for a moment, but heaven multiplies it beyond measure. So, like, share, and subscribe. not for numbers, but as an act of unity. Each interaction is another spark, keeping this fire alive for the next soul still wandering in darkness. And if you ever feel led to donate, let it be your whisper to heaven saying, "Keep the light burning." This space is more than content. It's a living altar made of words, faith, and human hearts. And you are part of building it. One prayer, one act, one drop of oil at a time. Keep standing strong. Chosen one, your angels are still at work. Your obedience is still opening doors. And your light, yes, your light is helping others find their way home. Chosen one. Every word they spoke tried to define you, but heaven already wrote your name in fire. Their labels were temporary, but your calling is eternal. You were never meant to be who they said you were. You were meant to become who God designed you to be. You've walked through seasons where every voice seemed louder than your own. The names they called you, the doubts they cast, the stories they told. Each one felt like a stone thrown toward your spirit. And yet, you're still standing. Not because you were unhurt, but because you were upheld. There's something powerful about surviving what was meant to silence you. Every wound you carry glows faintly in the Spirit's light. It's proof of endurance, not weakness, like gold refined through flame. You are marked by fire, not by failure, as declared in the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 3. To bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. Oh, chosen one, you wear that verse without even realizing it. You have walked through ashes, yet beauty still finds you. You have wept through midnights, yet morning keeps coming. The very fire that tried to consume you has become the light that guides your path. Let me tell you something that few understand. When people mislabel you, they unknowingly confirm your anointing. Every attack is an announcement of heaven's investment in you. The enemy doesn't chase what isn't chosen. You were never ordinary. That's why you couldn't blend in. You were set apart. And separation often feels like rejection until revelation comes. The misunderstanding, the mockery, the exile, all of it was God carving away the noise so your true sound could rise. Imagine a sword being forged. It begins as raw metal, shapeless and unremarkable. Then comes the hammer, the fire, the water, the grinding. Each strike hurts, but each strike shapes. You, too, have been through the forge. The blows you thought would break, you have only sharpened your edge. The fire didn't destroy you, it revealed what could not burn. Now, what remains is pure, unshackable, unstoppable, chosen one. Heaven is proud of your endurance. You didn't curse the heat, you let it refine you. You didn't cling to false labels. You waited for God's word to rewrite your identity. And now, He calls you by a new name, restored, redeemed, radiant. Now, every time you chose forgiveness over fury, light broke out of you. Every time you kept faith when fear surrounded you, heaven marked the moment. You may not have seen it, but your obedience glowed like an ember in a dark valley, guiding others who watched from afar. Even now, someone is drawing courage from your endurance. They don't know your full story, but they can sense your strength. Your quiet survival has become their silent sermon. Chosen one, what they said about you doesn't matter anymore. Heaven has issued a correction. God himself has sealed your identity under his name. You are not what they called you. You are what he calls you: chosen, called, appointed, and anointed. And here's what's unfolding right now. The fire that refined you is now your armor. What once wounded you has become what protects you. You walk with a radiance the world can't explain, a peace that provokes curiosity, a strength that doesn't shout but stands. The time for apology has passed. Now is the time for alignment. Lift your head, straighten your back, and walk in the dignity of divine purpose. The mark of fire upon you isn't shame, it's a signature of heaven, saying, "This one belongs to me." And so as you read these words, let your heart whisper what your mouth may not yet dare to say: I'm still here. I'm still chosen. I'm still burning with purpose. And if that truth stirs something deep inside you, type 888 inches, the comments, not as superstition, but as declaration, because 888, the number of new beginnings, is heaven's echo saying, it's time to rise again. When you write it, you're not typing a number, you're signing your name under a promise. You're saying, the old labels are gone. I am reborn through the fire. I am who God says I am. This moment is sacred. The fire has done its work. The ash has settled. And in the quiet after the storm, heaven smiles, because the one marked by fire has finally stepped into light. And as you step forward, you'll notice something extraordinary. The same flames that once threatened to consume, you now light your path. They no longer burn, they illuminate, because what was once pain has now become purpose, and what once broke you now blesses others through you. Chosen one. There was a night. Heaven remembers the night God himself stepped into your battle. You might not have felt it then. You might have been too weary, too numb, too wounded to notice. But while you were trying to survive, heaven was already at war on your behalf. There are moments in life when prayer doesn't sound like words. It sounds like breathing through tears. That night, your breathing was a prayer. Every exhale of exhaustion was an offering that reached the throne. And when God heard it, he stood up. The battle shifted. You see, heaven does not sleep when his chosen ones suffer. God doesn't wait for your perfect words. He responds to your pure heart. The moment your spirit whispered, "Lord, help me," angels drew their swords. The war for your peace began long before you realized you were being fought for. It's written in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Oh, that verse isn't poetic, it's personal. It describes what you lived through while you tried to make sense of chaos. God was silencing storms that were never meant to touch you. There were attacks you never saw, conversations you were excluded from, decisions made against you that mysteriously fell apart. That wasn't coincidence. That was God stepping between you and destruction. If you could see what heaven blocked on your behalf, you would weep in gratitude. The car you missed by minutes, the opportunity that fell through before it trapped you, the relationship that ended before it broke you, divine interventions disguised as disappointments. Chosen one. You've been walking through battles that existed far beyond flesh and blood. Your sleepless nights weren't only exhaustion, they were echoes of spiritual warfare. While you lay awake, Angels were circling your home, drawing boundaries darkness couldn't cross. Think of a watchtower lit in the middle of a battlefield. You were that tower's flame. Every time you chose hope over despair, your light sent confusion into the enemy's camp. They didn't understand how you kept standing when you should have fallen. But heaven knew. God himself was your strength. There's something beautiful about the way God fights quietly, strategically, with mercy and precision. He doesn't strike to destroy. He moves to deliver. His justice is not chaos, it's choreography. Every detail in your life, even the painful ones, has been part of his perfect defense. That's why certain people suddenly drifted away. It wasn't random. God was removing access from those who could not handle your next level. That's why certain doors closed. Not because you were unworthy, but because he was shielding you from premature exposure. Protection doesn't always look like blessing. It often looks like loss. And yet, every loss held love inside it. Every detour was a delay of mercy. Every unanswered prayer was God whispering, "Trust me. I see what you don't." In 4, the night heaven fought for you was the night mercy won. You may not have felt a thunderstorm or seen a vision, but your peace today is evidence that something shifted in the unseen. The arrows stopped. The storm passed. The curse reversed. When the morning came, you woke up feeling a little lighter, though you couldn't explain why. That was the residue of victory. Heaven had already finished what you were still worrying about. Chosen one. The story of your survival is not about luck or resilience. It's about divine warfare fought in silence. You were never unprotected. You were surrounded. You were never losing. You were being led. Sometimes, God fights battles you didn't even know existed just to preserve the part of you that still believes. That's why, even after everything, your heart is still tender. You didn't come out bitter. You came out burning brighter. That's evidence of divine protection at work. You'll never know every detail of what heaven handled for you, and that's mercy. 2. Because if you saw the full weight of it, the sheer power of what tried to destroy you, your knees would buckle in awe of the God who stepped in. He didn't just protect you from others, he protected you from yourself, those impulsive decisions you almost made, those words you almost spoke in anger, those moments you almost gave up. Grace intercepted you before regret could. The night God fought for you wasn't just a rescue, it was a revelation. You learned that even when you can't trace his hand, you can trust his heart. And now, you stand in the quiet aftermath different, stronger, more aware of how sacred your survival truly is. Heaven remembers the battle, you carry its peace. The night God fought for you didn't just change your circumstances, it changed you. And that transformation is proof that heaven always wins. Chosen one. There's a shift taking place that even your enemies can feel. They don't understand it yet. But the same mouths that once spoke against you are growing quiet. Conviction has started to stir in their hearts. And what once felt like confidence in their lies now trembles under the weight of divine truth. It begins subtly, a restlessness in their sleep, a thought they can't silence, a memory they can't erase. The things they said about you start to echo back at them, not out of revenge, but out of mercy. Because when heaven begins to fight for you, it also begins to awaken them, as declared in the book of Hosea, chapter 14, verse 4. I will heal their waywardness and love them freely. for my anger has turned away from them. That's what's happening now. God isn't out to destroy those who wronged you. He's out to redeem them. But first, He's confronting them with truth. The same words they used to mock you are now lessons they can't unlearn. Every act of cruelty is being turned into their conviction. That's what divine justice looks like. Not vengeance, but transformation. You may never see it with your eyes, but heaven allows you to feel it. There's a peace that rises when justice begins to move. It's not about celebration, it's about completion. You don't need to gloat, you only need to breathe, because the tables are turning in silence, and peace is announcing the verdict. You remember how heavy their words once felt, how their rejection bruised your spirit, how their laughter seemed louder than your prayers. But now, the laughter has faded, replaced by reflection. The same people who mocked your faith are now facing questions of their own. They're beginning to ask themselves, why did I say that? Why did I do that? That's conviction, not coincidence. And here's what's holy about it. Even now, you're not wishing them harm. You're not hoping they suffer. You're hoping they find truth. That shows just how deeply heaven has transformed you. Mercy has replaced bitterness. Compassion has replaced vengeance. That's how you know God's victory is complete. It changed your heart, not just your circumstances. Imagine this, a forest that once burned, now blooming again. Ashes turn to soil, and new life begins to push through the dark earth. That's how God redeems what was broken. The fire that once raged between you and those who hurt you is cooling, and in that stillness, new growth begins. Not friendship, perhaps, but forgiveness. Not reconciliation of relationship, but restoration of peace. Chosen one. This season is not about who was wrong, it's about who will be healed. Heaven's justice is not a punishment, it's a process that reveals truth to everyone involved. You were refined by your pain. Now they are being refined by conviction. And when God finishes, both sides will stand in awe of His wisdom. That's the kind of justice the world can't comprehend. It doesn't shout. It doesn't humiliate. It corrects with grace. You won't need to remind anyone of what they did. God's Spirit is already doing that work in their hearts. The same Spirit that comforted you in your suffering is now confronting them in their silence. And this is where your faith must stay steady. Don't look back. Don't check whether they've apologized or changed. Your healing doesn't depend on their repentance, it depends on your release. The moment you stop replaying the pain, heaven can finish its work. It's a quiet miracle. This transformation of hearts, you might feel it in the air, the way tension slowly dissolves. The invisible weight that used to hang between you and your past is lifting. That's what divine justice feels like, not dramatic, but definite. You have no idea how many sleepless nights God has turned into prayers of repentance. How many hearts that once hated now whisper your name with guilt and gratitude. The unseen story is being rewritten, one humble thought at a time. And when it's done, you'll feel a stillness you haven't known before. The kind of peace that doesn't depend on anyone saying sorry. The kind that comes when heaven settles every score, not with destruction, but with deliverance. Chosen one. Your enemies are not your problem anymore. They are God's students now. Their lessons are written in the very pain they caused you. And their transformation is part of your testimony. You've already passed your test. Now, heaven is teaching theirs. So rest in this truth. You don't need to see the apology to know redemption is happening. You don't need to hear their confession to know heaven has spoken. The tremble you feel in the spirit is not fear. It's the sound of God making things right. One heart at a time. Chosen one. Heaven remembers every hidden act of obedience, every time you chose right when no one was watching, every time you sowed kindness without applause, every time you forgave in silence. The world may have missed it, but heaven didn't. Those moments became the unseen roots of your coming harvest. In the kingdom, what's done in secret is never forgotten. You've been planting in invisible soil, watering it with faith. And now, the first green shoots of promise are breaking through. What once felt like wasted effort was never wasted. It was investment. You were building something eternal, while everyone else was chasing what fades. As it is written in the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap if we do not give up. Chosen one. That's the truth. Heaven is now unfolding over your life. You've been faithful in small things, and heaven is rewarding you with increase in hidden places. You may not see the full picture yet, but everything you've done in obedience has built an altar of remembrance before God. There was a time you wondered, does it even matter? You gave your best, loved deeply, served quietly, and still felt unseen. But that was the proving ground of your anointing. Heaven tests authenticity in the shadows before it releases glory in the light. You weren't being ignored, you were being refined. Think of it like the roots of a tree. Long before the branches reach the sky, the roots are busy underground, stretching deep into unseen soil. No one applauds the roots, but without them, the tree cannot stand. That's what your hidden obedience has been doing, anchoring your destiny so that when the winds of blessing blow, you won't fall. Every time you obeyed God's whisper, even when it cost you comfort, you proved trustworthiness. Every time you chose humility over recognition, heaven marked the moment. You've been walking through a season of preparation disguised as delay, but now, that quiet faith is about to speak loudly through results. The fruit of secret faithfulness is stability. While others rise quickly and fade, your growth will be steady and lasting, because your foundation was built with integrity, not applause. Your crown is coming, but it's not just for enduring, it's for obeying when no one clapped. Chosen one. You are heaven's evidence that obedience still matters. You've resisted shortcuts, refused bitterness, and stayed true when compromise looked easier. That's not weakness, that's strength shaped by surrender. The world glorifies instant success, but heaven honors long obedience. Your reward will not be random, it will be precise. God never forgets a seed sown in secret. Each act of kindness, each prayer whispered for someone else, each tear shed in surrender, they've all been catalogued in eternity's book. Nothing righteous ever vanishes. It just waits for its appointed time. You will soon look back and realize the reason you didn't quit was because grace carried you when strength failed. The quiet power that kept you standing wasn't human, it was divine endurance flowing through you. And this next part, chosen one, is vital. As the harvest begins to show, stay humble. Don't forget the soil you came from. Remember the nights you prayed in silence, the sacrifices no one thanked you for, because that humility will keep your blessings protected. Pride invites loss, but gratitude multiplies gain. The world will start noticing what heaven has been nurturing all along. People will call it sudden, but you'll know it wasn't. You'll smile softly and say, "It took years to look like it happened overnight." And this is your season of visible fruit from invisible faith. Heaven is rewarding not your perfection, but your persistence. Every yes you gave God when it didn't make sense has become the foundation for your next miracle. Now, pause. Chosen one, let this truth settle deep inside. Your hidden obedience has been your greatest weapon. Every unseen moment of faith has built a wall of favor around you. The seeds you forgot you planted are sprouting in fields you never expected. If this word resonates with your spirit, if you know your quiet yeses have carried you here, type, "My harvest comes." It's not just a phrase, it's the sound of heaven unlocking your fields. Proof that what you planted in tears will now rise in joy. The season of unseen obedience is turning into the season of undeniable evidence. Heaven has remembered your faithfulness, and the harvest is already on the horizon. Chosen one, God is rewriting your story in public view. The same pages that once read like loss are being filled with light. Every line that once carried sorrow is being edited by grace. Heaven is turning the record around, and this time, the ending will sound like restoration. For too long, people saw fragments of your story and assumed they knew the whole. They didn't see the midnight prayers, the quiet resilience, the unseen battles that forged your faith. But God did. And now, He's bringing those hidden chapters into the light, not to shame anyone, but to show what divine endurance looks like when it's crowned with mercy. The Apostle reminds us in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that outweighs them all." You've carried those troubles with grace, and now heaven is turning them into testimony. The same pain that once isolated you will soon inspire others. The same tears that blurred your vision will soon water the ground beneath your feet, making it fertile for others to walk through. Chosen one, your story matters more than you realize. It's not just about what you went through, it's about who you're becoming because of it. You are living proof that pain can become purpose, that ashes can still birth beauty, and that a broken heart can still beat in rhythm with heaven's song. And because this message finds you now, it's a sign that your story is entering its unveiling season. People will look at you and wonder how you survived. They'll see your calm and never know the chaos you walked through. That's grace. It doesn't erase the evidence of struggle. It turns the scars into symbols of strength. Now listen closely. There's something sacred about stories like yours. They carry healing for others. When light shines through your wounds, someone else trapped in darkness starts to believe that they can make it too. That's why your journey needs to be shared, not hidden. If this space, these words, have helped you see God's fingerprints in your pain, consider helping this flame stay lit for another wanderer lost in the night. Think of it as adding a single coal to a holy fire that warms countless souls. When you like, share, or subscribe, you're not chasing numbers, you're building bridges of hope. Each small action becomes a candle in someone's dark hallway, a whisper that says, "You're not alone." Enzil, and if your heart ever feels stirred to donate, let it be from peace, not pressure. Picture it as pouring honey into a cracked vessel. Your kindness seeps through every fracture and sweetens the journey for another soul. That drop of generosity may seem small to you, but heaven turns it into rivers of provision that flow farther than you could imagine. There's no demand here, only invitation. Giving is never a transaction, it's transformation. You don't give because you're told to you. Give because you've tasted light and want someone else to taste it too. Every like is a spark. Every share, a bridge. Every subscription, a thread weaving hearts together across miles. And each gift, whether prayer, encouragement, or offering, is the quiet rustle of wings as heaven moves closer to earth. If your spirit ever whispers, "I want to keep this fire alive," follow that nudge, because this message doesn't belong to algorithms. It belongs to hearts like yours that know what hope feels like after heartbreak. Like this message as a sign that your light still burns. Share it so another weary traveler finds the path. Subscribe to stay within this river of restoration. And if your heart feels led, give not to pay for words, but to plant more of them in soil that's ready for healing. There's no price on grace. There's only participation in it. Every small act is another brushstroke on heaven's mural of mercy, painted through ordinary people who choose to love generously. And you, chosen one, you are already part of that art. The same hand that rewrote your pain into promise is now using your kindness to rewrite hope into the lives of others. And as you do, remember this: giving is not about what leaves your hand, it's about what stays in your heart. Every small act of faith becomes a seed in eternity's garden. Heaven doesn't measure the size of your gift, only the sincerity behind it. And even the tiniest gesture can echo forever in someone else's breakthrough. So, walk forward with open hands and a peaceful heart. The light you share today may be the very spark that saves another tomorrow. And heaven, chosen one, never forgets a single spark. Chosen one. There comes a moment when grace begins to speak louder than accusation. You've reached that moment. The noise that once surrounded your name is losing power. The judgments, the rumors, the whispers, they're dissolving into silence. And in their place, mercy is rising like dawn after a storm. For so long, you lived under the shadow of misunderstanding. You replayed words that wounded you, wondering if people would ever see the truth. But now, the light of grace is breaking through. What was hidden in confusion is being clarified by compassion. The same story they used to condemn you is becoming the stage where God reveals His goodness. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 103, verse 12. As far as the east is from the west, so far has He removed our transgressions from us. That's what grace does. It separates you from your past, not by denying it, but by transforming it. The distance between who you were and who you are becoming is measured not in time, but in mercy. Every mistake that once held your identity hostage is now buried under forgiveness, too vast to comprehend. Chosen one. The accusations were real, but so was redemption. People might still remember your failure, but heaven has already recorded your restoration. The moment you turned your heart toward God, the verdict shifted. Where guilt once spoke, grace now reigns. And grace, unlike accusation, doesn't shout. It speaks in whispers that calm storms. It doesn't demand proof, it offers peace. It doesn't hold records, it writes new beginnings. There's a stillness that comes when you stop defending yourself and let grace speak for you. It's not pride, it's trust. You've learned that truth doesn't need to argue. It only needs time to bloom. Just as the sun doesn't debate the darkness, your transformation doesn't need validation. The change in your spirit is enough. Imagine standing beside an ocean at sunrise. The waves still crash, but the light softens them. The sound remains, but the fear fades. That's what it feels like when grace starts speaking louder than guilt. The same waves that once threatened to drown you now wash your feet with peace. Chosen one. This is the chapter where you finally stop apologizing for surviving. You don't owe anyone an explanation for the way God chose to redeem you. They saw your breaking, but they didn't see His mending. They saw your stumble, but they didn't see His hand lifting you. Let this truth settle deeply. You are not the same person who walked into that storm. You came out carrying light you didn't have before. The shame that once followed you is now afraid to approach you. The past no longer recognizes you, because you've been remade by grace. Every accusation that once echoed in your mind is now answered by mercy. Every "you'll never change" is met with "watch what God can do." Grace is not a reward for perfection. It's the oxygen of transformation. You're not merely forgiven, you're renewed. And this renewal is not fragile. It's forged in love stronger than your worst moment. You can walk boldly now, not because you've done everything right, but because you know the one who made everything right for you. That's freedom, knowing you don't have to earn what's already been given. Some may still hold their opinions, but you don't live for their acceptance anymore. The same grace that covered you is now calling you forward. You no longer carry the sound of defense, you carry the fragrance of peace. The day will come when even those who doubted you will have to admit, something divine happened. But when they see it, you won't feel the need to say, "I told you so." You'll simply smile, because the glory belongs to God alone. This is your season of quiet vindication. Grace is doing what arguments never could. Mercy is accomplishing what explanations never achieved. Heaven is proving your truth without a single word spoken by you. So rest in that peace. Chosen one. You don't have to prove your transformation. It's visible to those who have eyes to see. Grace has rewritten your story. And every new day you wake up in light is evidence that redemption won. The voices of the past are fading now. The accuser's tone grows faint. In its place comes the steady, healing sound of mercy, a language your heart finally understands. You are free. You are forgiven. And most beautifully of all, you are finally at peace with the story that once broke you. Chosen one. Heaven is declaring a prophetic reversal over your life. The tide is turning. The order is changing. And what once worked against you is now working for you. Everything that was stolen, delayed, or broken is being commanded to return in multiplied form. This isn't imagination, it's divine compensation in motion. For a long time, you walked through seasons that didn't make sense. You gave, but saw no return. You prayed, but the silence lingered. You kept the faith, even when everything around you seemed to crumble. But heaven never forgot those moments. Every tear, every act of faith, every time you said yes when you could have walked away, it was all being recorded. And now, the Lord says, it is time. Heaven speaks clearly through the prophet Joel. Chapter 2, verse 25. I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. That promise isn't symbolic, it's literal in heaven's economy. Time. relationships, opportunities. Favor, everything that felt wasted, is being reintroduced, renewed, and revived. You're not stepping back into what was, you're stepping into what could have been, multiplied by grace. This is the sound of reversal. The scales are tipping. The same places that brought you sorrow will now become the ground where joy grows. The same names that mocked you will soon speak blessing over you without understanding why. The Spirit is rewriting outcomes in your favor. And what once seemed lost beyond recovery is now in restoration's reach. Chosen one. There's something sacred about this kind of divine turnaround. It happens quietly, like morning light breaking through the last remnants of night. You don't have to chase it. You don't even have to announce it. It's already unfolding, your name being mentioned in rooms you've never entered. Your work being recognized by voices that once ignored you. Your faith being rewarded by a God who never forgets. Imagine standing on the shore after a storm. The waves are still moving, but the air feels different. The chaos has passed, and in its place, there's clarity. That's what this moment is for you. The storm didn't destroy you, it refined you. And now, the waters that once threatened to drown you are returning treasures that were hidden beneath their surface. This is the justice of heaven. When God restores, He doesn't just give back what you lost, He redeems the pain of the losing. He turns wounds into wisdom, heartbreak into holiness, loss into legacy. You don't come out with empty hands. You come out carrying everything that matters most. And perhaps the most powerful part, you didn't earn this reversal through striving. You received it through surrender. The moment you stopped fighting for control, heaven began fighting for you. What you laid down in faith, God is now lifting back up in fullness. This is not only a return, it's a repositioning. The places where you were once overlooked will now become the stages of your influence. The voices that once silenced you will now echo your message. The doors that shut in your face will now swing wide, not by human favor, but by divine decree. Chosen one. This reversal is both justice and mercy, intertwined. Justice, because the wrongs done to you are being made right. Mercy, because God is blessing you beyond what fairness would require. You are walking into a harvest you didn't sow alone. Every ancestor's prayer, every act of love that seemed forgotten, it all converges here. And when it happens, remember, restoration is not revenge. God's purpose in blessing you isn't to humiliate those who hurt you. It's to show the world how grace rewrites endings. Your restoration will be peace-filled, not prideful. You'll stand taller, not to boast, but to bless. You can feel it already, can't you? The air shifting, the heaviness lifting, the divine rhythm aligning. This is the atmosphere of reversal. God moving pieces you thought were broken beyond repair into perfect alignment again. So now, as a prophetic act of agreement, type 111 inches, the comments. It's not just a number, it's a symbol of alignment and new order. When you write it, you're saying, Heaven, I'm in sync with you. I'm ready for the restoration you've promised. Thus, let that number be your declaration that what was out of place is falling back into purpose, that what felt like an ending is actually the beginning of your divine upgrade. The reversal has begun. Heaven's court has ruled in your favor, and the pages of your story, once written with sorrow, are now being rewritten with glory. Chosen one. The battle is shifting, and for the first time in a long time, you can breathe. The noise that once filled your days has quieted. The weight that pressed on your chest is lighter now. This is the part of the journey where glory begins to reveal itself, not in flashes of power, but in peace that feels like home. For so long, you've lived in survival mode. You moved from one struggle to another, never sure when the storm would end. But now, heaven is pulling you out of the trenches and teaching you to live again. The same ground where you once wept is becoming the place where you'll worship. The battlefield is transforming into a garden, as recorded in the book of Haggai, chapter 2, verse 9. The glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former house, declares the Lord Almighty. That's what you're stepping into, the greater glory. You may not see it all yet, but it's already surrounding you. You've been through the crushing, the breaking, and the pressing, and now the oil of purpose is flowing from your life. The pain that once made no sense has become the proof that heaven never left you. The glory after the battle doesn't look like applause or revenge. It looks like peace where chaos used to live. It looks like joy that doesn't need explanation. It looks like waking up without fear, walking without hesitation, and resting without guilt. There's a radiance about you now, a quiet strength that doesn't need to announce itself. People may look at you and wonder what changed. They'll notice your calm before they ever hear your story. They won't understand that the glow isn't from success, it's from survival. You've seen the darkness and still chosen the light. That's glory. Chosen one. Your scars have become sacred. They no longer remind you of pain, they remind you of protection. Every wound healed in grace has turned into a window through which heaven's light now shines. That's why others are drawn to you. They feel peace in your presence because you carry the fragrance of deliverance. Think of gold after the fire. It doesn't apologize for what it's been through, it simply shines. The fire doesn't reduce it, it refines it. That's what God has done with you. The flames that once threatened to destroy you have revealed your true worth. You are walking evidence that nothing surrendered to God stays broken. This glory is quiet, but unshakable. It doesn't need to prove anything. It's not built on titles, recognition, or applause. It's built on the unseen intimacy between your heart and heaven. That's why it lasts, because it wasn't earned. It was entrusted. And now, you are becoming what you once prayed for. You are the healed one you used to ask God to make you. You are the free one you longed to be. You are the strong one others are now looking to for guidance. It's not pride, it's promise fulfilled. You've entered a season of radiant stillness. Heaven's glory doesn't need to shout. It simply rests on those who've endured the refining. You no longer need to chase validation or prove your worth. The evidence of God's hand on your life speaks louder than words ever could. Look around you. Things are not the same. The same roads that once felt heavy now feel lighter under your feet. The same air that once carried sorrow now carries peace. This is what divine glory feels like. Restoration without residue. Favor without striving. Beauty without pretense. Even creation seems to echo your new beginning. The sky feels wider. The colors seem deeper. The days somehow brighter. It's not the world that changed, it's your eyes. You're seeing through redemption now. Chosen one. This is not the end of your story. It's the unveiling of what the pain was always preparing you for. You've graduated from battle scars to glory marks. What once seemed like wounds are now emblems of victory. And here's the most beautiful truth. The glory doesn't fade. It deepens. Each day you walk in gratitude. Each moment you choose peace over fear. Each act of kindness you give freely. These all magnify the radiance within you. You are a living testimony that the fire cannot win against faith. Your life itself has become a sermon without words, a melody of redemption sung in the key of grace. So walk freely now. Breathe deeply. You've survived the night, and the morning belongs to you. The glory after the battle has begun, and it looks exactly like peace. Chosen one. There is something sacred about this part of the journey, the moment when God begins to honor you in the very places where you were once humiliated. The same ground that once held your tears is now the soil of your vindication. You're not standing in the shadow of shame anymore. You're standing in the light of fulfillment. You remember those days when it felt like everything was against you. You walked through crowds of people who doubted you, who whispered behind your back, who used your name as a weapon. You felt exposed, small, powerless. But what they didn't see was that heaven was watching, and heaven always settles its debts. Now the tables have turned, not with vengeance, but with victory that carries peace. God is preparing a public table of honor for you, one that is not made of pride, but of purpose. The very ones who said you were finished will soon watch you flourish. The same mouths that doubted you will have no choice but to speak blessings, even if they don't understand why. According to what is revealed in the book of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 5, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows." This is the fulfillment of that promise. God is not only restoring what was taken, He is making sure your victory carries meaning. You won't just rise, you'll radiate peace. Because this elevation isn't about proving anyone wrong, it's about proving that grace never fails. Chosen one. When heaven exalts you, it doesn't do it to shame others. It does it to reveal His justice. You are not being lifted for attention. You are being lifted as testimony. You are standing as evidence that God's timing is perfect, even when it feels painfully slow. Think of a crown placed gently on a scarred forehead. The mark of suffering doesn't disqualify you from royalty. It qualifies you. It shows that you endured the process with faith. You've carried the weight of waiting. And now heaven is clothing you with honor. The beautiful thing about divine recognition is that you don't have to chase it. You don't have to demand it, manipulate it, or beg for it. You just have to keep walking in obedience. Because the oil on your life will always find its way to visibility, no matter how long it takes. Light cannot stay hidden forever. And when the light finally reveals you, it will not be by accident, it will be by appointment. Heaven has a way of announcing its chosen ones without them needing to advertise themselves. Your authenticity, your consistency, your humility, they've all been preparing you for this unveiling. The same people who tried to bury your name are about to see it bloom again. But you won't respond with arrogance. You'll respond with peace. Because you've learned that vindication without compassion is just another form of pride. You'll walk past the very places that once wounded you and feel gratitude, not bitterness. Because even your enemies were teachers, guiding you closer to the heart of God. Chosen one. Honor doesn't come to those who demand it. It comes to those who endure silently while remaining faithful. The strength of your spirit has been tested, and it's come out refined. Heaven is not rewarding perfection, it's rewarding persistence. Picture a banquet hall set in sunlight. The table is long, filled with fruit, bread, and overflowing cups. It's not a table of revenge, it's a table of restoration. The air itself hums with peace. That's the kind of celebration God prepares for those who never gave up when misunderstood. You are stepping into a season where peace will speak louder than explanation, where favor will speak louder than defense. You won't need to remind anyone of what they did to you. Time and truth have already told the story. And when you stand there in the glow of divine fulfillment, you'll understand something deeply humbling. All of it was worth it. Every delay, every rejection, every lonely night. Because each of those moments became the stone beneath your feet, raising you higher toward grace. You are not rising because of who hurt you. You are rising because of who healed you. Your crown doesn't come from victory over them. It comes from surrender to Him. Chosen one. Let this sink into your soul. This is not revenge. It's redemption. You are being crowned in the presence of those who once called you unworthy. Not to gloat, but to glorify God. And in that moment, peace will be your robe, humility your crown, and gratitude your language. This is what divine honor looks like. It's quiet, radiant, and drenched in grace. You've been through the valley. You've walked through the fire. And now, you are standing in the place heaven promised all along. Chosen one. Your story no longer belongs to pain, it belongs to purpose. The same wounds that once silenced you are now the very places where heaven's light pours through. You've endured what many would have abandoned, and that endurance has become your testimony. But now, something deeper is happening. God isn't just healing you, He's using you. Every tear you've ever shed has become a seed of compassion. And now that compassion is being sent out like ripples in a river. Someone out there, someone broken, lost, unsure, is waiting to hear what God did for you. Your words might be the lantern that guides them through their night. This is how heaven multiplies redemption. One healed heart heals another. One whispered story of survival becomes the roar that wakes a sleeping soul. You are not just a survivor, you're a messenger of mercy. The Spirit reminds us in the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 23, "Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering. For He who promised is faithful." That's your story in one line, holding fast to hope. Even when everything in you wanted to let go, and because you've held on, God is turning your life into a voice that lifts others. When people hear your story, they won't just see resilience, they'll see reflection. They'll see what God can do with someone who refused to quit. That's why what you've lived through matters. It carries healing beyond your own heart. Chosen one. This space, the one where you found strength, comfort, and reminders of who you are, isn't just a stream of words. It's a garden where souls are watered, one message at a time. Every time you return, you're stepping into a sanctuary built by stories like yours, stories of faith that refuse to die. And if this place has ever met you in your low moment, then let your gratitude flow in whatever way feels right. Think of a simple like as planting a small wildflower on sacred ground, your way of saying, "I was here, and this helped me grow." No, a share is like opening a window in a dark room, letting someone else see the same light that reached you. You never know whose life might change because you let the light travel through you. When you subscribe, imagine it as tying your story into a long woven tapestry, a thread of your faith connected to thousands of others across the world. Each new connection makes the fabric stronger, the message louder, the love wider. Leave a comment as if you're placing a stone of remembrance by the riverbank of your journey. Each word you write becomes part of the altar of gratitude. We build together a mark that says, God met me here. And if your heart ever stirs to give, let it be like pouring oil into a lamp that has already warmed your night. No pressure, no demand, just love, responding to love. That single drop of generosity, whether prayer or provision, keeps the flame alive for the next soul stumbling through their dark hour. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, becomes a ripple of grace that never stops moving. It travels beyond screens, beyond time, touching places only heaven can see. Because giving in the kingdom is never about transaction, it's transformation. What you do here, every gesture of faith, becomes an echo of your own miracle. You're saying to the world, I've been through fire, and I've found light. If it reached me, it can reach you too. That's how revival begins, not through noise, but through quiet, faithful hearts choosing to give light instead of keeping it. Chosen one. Don't underestimate what happens when you let gratitude flow outward. When you nurture what has nurtured you, heaven multiplies it. When you keep the lamp burning, more wanderers find the path home. And your life becomes the sermon. The way you forgive, the way you share, the way you give all of it preaches louder than any word could. You become a living letter of grace, written not in ink, but in endurance. So, if this message has touched your spirit, let your heart decide how to respond. Click the heart. Share the flame. Leave your comment stone. Subscribe to the flow of grace. And if you ever feel led to donate, do it as a whisper of gratitude, not obligation. Every bit of light you give returns multiplied. That's how heaven's economy works. Nothing generous is ever wasted. Because what's happening here isn't performance, it's purpose. It's people like you keeping the story of hope alive for others who still believe miracles are possible. And maybe, someday, someone you'll never meet will whisper, "Thank you," not knowing it was your spark that helped them find their way home. Chosen one. Even after the victory, heaven does not stop fighting for you. You may think the battle is over. But divine protection never sleeps. The same God who delivered you in the storm continues to stand guard in your calm. Grace does not retreat when the noise fades. It stays, watching over every step, every thought, every moment you breathe. You are not forgotten after triumph. You are still covered. The world moves on quickly, but heaven lingers around, those it calls chosen. The angels that once shielded you in war now walk beside you in peace, ensuring that no shadow returns to steal what you've gained. It is written in the book of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 15. Look, on the mountains, the feet of one who brings good news, who proclaims peace. No more shall evil come. That promise is not ancient history. It is alive in your story right now. It means that peace is no longer temporary. It is secured. The same mountains that once echoed with the sound of your struggle now echo with good news. Heaven has declared your freedom. Chosen one. Heaven keeps fighting for you. Not with swords this time, but with silence that secures your peace. The spirit that once roared against your enemies now whispers calm into your soul. You've entered the sacred aftermath, where God defends not your survival, but your stability. After every storm, there is a quieter battle. The battle to remain grateful when comfort returns. The battle to stay humble when honor comes. The battle to keep burning with purpose when pressure fades. Heaven knows this, which is why divine guardianship does not end at deliverance. It transforms from fire into gentle flame, always present, always near. Think of a soldier who keeps watch at dawn. The war is over, yet he still stands, scanning the horizon, not from fear, but from devotion. That's how heaven watches over you now, not because you're in danger, but because you're deeply loved. You may feel like everything around you has calmed, but stillness doesn't mean absence. In stillness, God refines your vision. You begin to notice small miracles again, the unexplainable peace in your mornings, the quiet strength to forgive, the gentle wisdom to wait. Those aren't random. They're evidence of divine defense continuing to unfold. Chosen one. God's protection didn't leave when the chaos did. It simply changed form. He now guards your joy, your faith, your focus. He shields you not from enemies, but from distractions, because in peace, the enemy changes tactics. He doesn't strike, he whispers. And heaven, ever faithful, still counters those whispers with truth. The Lord keeps you from what you cannot see. You'll only recognize it in hindsight, the conversation that didn't happen, the path you didn't take, the offer that didn't work out. What looks like delay is often deliverance disguised. You don't have to live in constant defense anymore. You can exhale. God is not asking you to fight. He's asking you to rest. You are protected by something stronger than vigilance, by promise. Sometimes, the greatest miracle is simply the peace that stays. When others look at you, they'll see calm where there used to be chaos. They'll sense something steady around you and won't have words for it. That's heaven's covering quiet. Invisible, unstoppable. The feet of good news are walking toward you. Just as Nahum declared, they are bringing the confirmation that what once threatened you will never invade again. The battles of the past will not repeat themselves, because heaven doesn't recycle warfare once it's won. So now, live fully in this stillness. Don't look over your shoulder, look ahead. The same mountains that witnessed your pain now watch your peace. The same valleys that held your tears now echo your laughter. You are kept completely, tenderly, eternally. The war may have ended, but the protection remains. Heaven's watch continues, not because you are fragile, but because you are precious. That's how fiercely God loves you enough to guard your peace long after the storm. And when you finally rest your head at night, that peace wrapping around you isn't coincidence, it's covenant. Heaven has stationed calm around your heart, the way a city posts guards around its gates. You are surrounded, not by walls, but by watchmen of grace. Every breath you take is proof that God's protection still works in silence. You don't have to see angels to know they're near. Their evidence is the serenity that no chaos can steal. Stillness itself has become your shield. So sleep gently, chosen one, for even in your dreams, heaven keeps watch and dawn will always find you safe. Chosen one, there is a holy hush that comes after everything, the kind that follows years of battles, prayers, waiting, and revelation. It's not the silence of emptiness, it's the stillness of completion. You've reached the part of your journey where nothing needs to be forced, explained, or defended. Everything that needed to end has ended. Everything that needed to begin has begun. It is written in the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 7. When a man's ways please the Lord, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. That's where you are now, standing in peace. Not because the world changed, but because you did. The same heart that once ached for justice now beats with quiet gratitude. The same hands that once trembled in exhaustion now rest open, ready to receive. Heaven's war for you has accomplished its purpose. It didn't just protect your life, it purified your soul. You have walked through fire, not to prove strength, but to reveal surrender. You've been stripped of what was false, so that only truth could remain. That truth is simple, yet unshakable. God was always enough, even when nothing else was. And in that realization comes freedom. You no longer measure victory by applause or validation. You've learned that peace is not the absence of storms, but the presence of purpose within them. You carry that peace like a melody in your chest, a steady hum of faith that the world cannot interrupt. Chosen one. This final stretch is not about striving, it's about abiding. God isn't asking you to climb anymore, He's inviting you to dwell. The same hands that lifted you from despair now hold you in rest. This is not the ending of the story, it's the quiet beginning of eternity's rhythm within you. There's something extraordinary about how heaven finishes what it starts. It doesn't end with a bang, it ends with balance. You're not rushing anymore. You're not chasing clarity. You're walking at the pace of grace. Everything around you has slowed just enough for you to feel the heartbeat of divine timing. Imagine standing on the edge of a calm sea at sunset. The waves move, but softly. The sky glows with the kind of gold that only comes after rain. That's what this season feels like, a reflection of what you've survived, glowing gently with what you've become. The chaos has passed. What remains is beauty born of endurance. This is the glory of quiet transformation. People may not notice at first, but heaven does. You are radiant in ways words can't capture. Your spirit carries a fragrance that only fire can produce, the scent of refinement, the aroma of one who has seen God's faithfulness up close. And you don't need to announce it. Real glory doesn't make noise, it makes impact. The lives you touch now won't even realize that your peace is a miracle, that your gentleness is hard-won, that your smile carries the memory of nights you thought you'd never survive. Chosen one. You are now living proof of something profound, that God doesn't just restore, He redefines. The version of you standing here today could never have existed without the storms you endured. You are wiser, softer, stronger, and more compassionate, because every hardship turned into holy ground beneath your feet. You've reached the point where gratitude flows without trying. You thank God not only for what He gave, but also for what He took away. You understand that some things needed to break, so better things could breathe. The waiting was not wasted, it was womb time, shaping a soul that could carry greater purpose. Heaven has moved you from survival to stewardship. You are no longer clinging to miracles, you are walking as one. Every breath you take now is part of God's ongoing story of redemption, written in flesh and faith. You don't just tell others that God is faithful, you embody it. So rest. Chosen one. The war has ended, but the worship remains. The same God who led you through valleys will lead you in victory's quiet fields. Let peace be your crown, humility your robe, and gratitude your song. You have not just survived, you have become sacred space. Every scar, every silence, every step brought you here, to this stillness full of God. And now, heaven smiles, because the one who once fought to stand has learned how to rest in grace. And as you stand in that peace, remember, this is not the end. It's the beginning of living fully alive in God's rhythm. No more striving, no more searching, only flowing with the one who called you, chosen from the very start. Chosen one. If these words have found you, if somewhere between the lines you felt seen, strengthened, or restored, then this moment is for you. You've walked through fire and found faith, through silence and found strength, through storms and found stillness. Now you stand, not as who you were, but as who you've become, whole, awake, radiant. This isn't just another ending, it's the continuation of what heaven began inside you. The journey doesn't stop here. It expands every time light passes from one heart to another. And that's where you come in. When you like this message, imagine it as striking a match in the dark, one small flame that joins 1,000 others across the earth. You're saying, "This spoke to me, and I choose to keep the fire alive." No, when you share it, it's like opening a window in a room that once held silence, letting light and air reach someone who hasn't breathed in hope for a long time. When you subscribe, think of it as planting your roots deeper into a garden of faith. Each time you return, you water that garden not just for yourself, but for others who will walk this path after you. Leave a comment if you feel led, like placing a stone at the altar of remembrance. It says, "God met me here." Your words might be the footprint someone follows toward their own healing. And if your heart ever feels moved to donate, let it be like pouring oil into the lamp that once lit your night. No pressure, no obligation, just gratitude finding its way back to the source. Every drop you give keeps the flame glowing for another soul still searching for warmth. Each act, like, share, comment, subscribe, give, is a piece of light added to this living constellation of grace. None of it is small in heaven's eyes. Each spark extends the story. Each heart becomes a beacon. Each gesture a continuation of divine love. So, before you go, pause, breathe, whisper a quiet, "Thank you for how far you've come, and for how gently heaven carried you here." Then go, radiant one, and live as proof that grace still changes everything.